This is Eevee, the Echo Condition, an HD2D action adventure game with an emphasis on combat and exploration, plus an emotional narrative based on love and friendship. I've been working on this game for about 8 years now, and after finally going public with our first playable demo at Steam Next Fest, I realized that I was setting myself up for failure. The demo itself was a big success with a fair amount of positive press during an exceptionally competitive game festival. In spite of the sentiment, however, getting our demo ready in time meant sacrificing core gameplay mechanics, which ultimately led to a much more shallow experience than originally intended. Compounding the demo with the deadline that we'd set for ourselves in early February to release a full game, that also led us to deprioritizing major features or simply cutting them altogether. Some of these features are relatively easy to address, like injecting more personality into the game, specifically in the opening area where we want the town to feel more alive and vibrant. This is not only simple to achieve, but fun in my opinion, because you're just world building through placement of either inanimate or fully animated objects. Static NPCs just sit there and look pretty, while the wandering NPCs are actually using the enemy AI, only with their attack behaviors disabled. Being a level designer and world builder at heart, I can literally do this all day. What I really want to talk about though is a feature that was basically held together by duct tape and popsicle sticks when the demo launched. It may be a lot less exciting, but it is, without a doubt, infinitely more important. In fact, it may literally be the most important feature in any game ever, and that of course would be the camera system. Some games have mostly static cameras like puzzle games, other games have fully manual cameras like Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild. Whether the camera is completely static or offers the player complete control, the development cost will likely be minimal for these two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Obviously, if you're doing things like screen shakes or cinematic pullbacks for certain scenes, or maybe there are framing features for the combat, for example, the developer costs can go up. Making a third-person action game where the player doesn't control the camera at all, however, means that the developer needs to do 100% of the work to ensure that the player always sees what the developer wants them to see. When the game is combat-focused like Eevee that also features 2D sprites for characters in 3D worlds, we not only have to be very intentional about what the player sees and when they see it, but also very careful to make sure we don't show the sprites at awkward angles. The old camera system would follow a specific target that I would script to follow other objects in the world, and then I would clamp it on either the X or Z axis if I wanted to make sure it didn't flip into the wall or ensure it maintains a specific line while traversing through a level. The problem with clamping like this is that I could basically only move the camera at hard angles unless I let the camera go freely and just chase the player around in larger, more open environments. This sort of worked okay, but for traversal sections where I wanted the camera to maintain a certain distance, that meant that the level itself had to be constructed around the camera angles that my primitive system supported, instead of me just creating full spaces and then wrapping intentional camera movements around them. Doing a lot of research, I found Cinemachine and was immediately blown away with its flexibility and robust feature set. Cinemachine is a package anyone can download for free with Unity, and it even has support for both Playmaker and Bolt if you're not into coding. It can handle any type of camera you're trying to set up with ease, ranging from first person to on rails like the original God of War games. Setting up an intricate network of camera paths is exactly what I was looking for, and Cinemachine also allows me to control how the camera blends when transitioning from one path to another. Now, it's become much easier to set up organic camera sweeps and epic reveals like this, or to pull it in close for more intimate movements like wandering through the town here. One other very specific feature that Cinemachine helped me resolve with ease is just how smooth the camera tracking is, specifically when the player is teleporting all over the place either for rapid traversal or during combat. You'll notice that now if you make consecutive dashes in quick succession, the camera will smoothly follow the player regardless of how far ahead they get. So, we've established that this new camera system solves a lot of problems and is an overall better experience for the player, not to mention the fact that the system I'm leaning on, Cinemachine, is free, so it's a big win, right? Well, mostly. One advantage to the old system was that it was mostly drag and drop, and there wasn't a lot of upkeep once I started plugging in those old camera volumes. This new system, though, while extremely robust and relatively easy to use, does require a lot more objects to be placed and tracked within the level. For example, I need to place multiple individual virtual cameras on any single camera path based on how many different activation points that particular camera path has. So the more individual camera paths that can be accessed within a condensed area, the longer it's going to take to mark up every single path plus each individual virtual camera that's placed along all of these paths. Besides just the paths, it's a lot of cameras, a lot of volumes, and just plain a lot of variables to manage in any particular scene. Just like any other feature in the game, though, once you figure out your own system for implementation, it just takes time, and with more practice comes efficiency and execution. And we love being efficient. On the note of taking more time and becoming more efficient, I'm sad to announce that we won't be releasing the game in early February like we originally planned. The deadline was great and gave us something tangible to aim for, but I really want to make sure that everyone watching these videos and waiting for the final release has the best product possible. As I started developing new content, it just hit me pretty hard that all the cuts I had to make, combined with lackluster features like the camera system, aren't serving the player the way that I wanted, and I don't want to rush this game that I've already spent so much time on. Now, the good news here is that I'll continue developing the demo for a while, and loading it up right now, you'll get to experience the new camera system plus other features like a more fleshed out town in the intro. The other good news is that I'm going to continue making devlogs, plus we're going to try putting out some experimental content where my friend and co-developer will play some very specific games and talk about how that's influenced Eevee's development, or just my own development process in general over my 20 plus years in the industry. We could talk about less popular games like the original Blood Omen Legacy of Kain and how that dark intro and atmosphere shaped Eevee today, or dive into something more popular like Super Metroid but talk specifically about loneliness and isolation and how few games have ever done it better. Look, I am a big nerd and an even bigger video game industry enthusiast, so I've got a lot to say about game development and the creative process in general. Anyway, thanks again for sticking around. I hope you're looking forward to the new content both here on YouTube and the demo itself. Speaking of which, please check out the demo and wishlist Eevee the Echo Condition on Steam if you haven't done so already. Thanks again for watching. I hope you found this devlog interesting, and I hope to see you again in the next one.